Good evening, everyone. Annabelle, thank you so much for welcoming the Bridge team here. I'm Maya Monell, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, we're joined by some of the top women in sports and fitness to learn from their experiences working at the highest levels of their profession and to hear how they train like a girl. Without doubt, these women are tackling any challenges head-on, demanding change, and commanding the respect they deserve. So without further ado, let me introduce our moderator and panelists. Kate Scott. Kate is one of the most notable reporters in sports. She holds an Emmy for her work, and she was the first female play-by-play announcer to call a regular football season for the Pac-12. Kate is an announcer for NBCSN, an anchor, announcer, reporter, and host of the Pac-12. Maggie Steffens is regarded as the top water polo player in the world. She led the back-to-back Olympic gold medals in London and in Rio. She was the leading goal scorer at each of those respective games and was named the MVP of the Rio de Janeiro Olympics. Maggie graduated from Stanford in 2017 and is pursuing her master's while training for Tokyo 2020. Yeah. Woo! Switch up your seating a little bit and hop over to Coco. Coco Vandeweghe is among the top tennis players in the world today. Coco won this year's U.S. women's doubles. Ooh. She also holds 2 WTA titles and has reached 2 Grand Slam semis so far in her career.
Emphasis on so far.
So far, definitely. Known for her killer forehand and powerful serve, Coco is considered one of the world's most promising singles and doubles player today. Emily Hughes is a former professional figure skater who represented the U.S. in 2006 in the 2006 Olympic Games. She's a U.S. silver and bronze medalist as well as a world team member. Originally from New York, Emily now works as a senior manager at Johnson & Johnson. Last and certainly not least, Amber Quinones. Amber is a renowned fitness influencer in the Bay Area. Amber works on the Assembly's team as a project manager while also instructing classes at both the Assembly and at SoulCycle. Amber created Thick, an exclusive class at the Assembly to empower women to celebrate their various body shapes and teach them how to train like a girl. Last piece of housekeeping and logistics. You all probably noticed that we're donating some shirts as you walk in. They're not only to support tonight's event. Yes, we have somebody over here on Train to Be. They have all the panelists' names as well as some of the most renowned women in sports. We'll be contributing any donations to the Women's Sports Foundation tonight, so any donation is really appreciated. And one last time, please give it up for our panelists and moderators.
Well, that was an absolutely wonderful intro. Appreciate you doing me first, Maya, and we can get to people who really matter. That's always good. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Wow, what a fantastic turnout. And can everyone hear me in the back? Are we good? Yeah. All right, wine glasses up, thumbs up, excellent. And thank all of you for being here tonight. I'm so excited to lead this conversation, especially with the International Day of the Girl coming up. And with everything that's going on in the world these days, it just seems like a great time to have this conversation. So thank you all for being here. And that's kind of where I want to start. Before I get into the really hard-hitting questions, we heard what all of these incredible women do. I mean, Amber looks like this, and she just finished teaching one of her classes literally 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago. Okay, and look at him now. So I want to start with Coco. You flew up from San Diego. Maggie, you're training for the Olympics. Emily, you're working hard. Amber, you're working hard. What made you want to give up a couple hours of a night of your incredibly busy lives to talk about training like a girl? Why was this so important to you that you wanted to be here tonight? Amber, I'll start with you since you just got done leading the class a couple minutes ago.
All right, great, thank you. I think that as a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, in New York, and it was always, for me, a thing that I worked out. It wasn't just a happenstance thing that I like to do. It was always like, oh yeah, Amber is the kid who's always running around, working out, doing things, playing sports, while everyone else is God knows what. And so to me, it's super important to be talking about this and be spreading awareness with International Day of the Girl coming up this week to really just let girls know that it's okay and honestly celebrate it and encourage to be powerful and be strong, and that it's not, like, you're not too loud, you're not taking up too much space. So that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. Love that.
That's really hard to follow, I mean, for me, growing up, sports was such a big part of my life. Going through school, it was felt normal to wake up early and go to the rink and go to school and then go to the rink and then do homework and do it all again the next day. And some people would say, oh, what is it like, that's not normal? I'm like, no, that's normal. Like, I skate, it was such a part of me. And even though I'm not, sports isn't, a focus of what I'm doing now, it's still a huge part of my life. And even coming out to San Francisco, when I moved out here, it was the skaters and the skating community that really welcomed me. And so for me, it's great that sports is still such a part of my life, and I really want to, I want it to be part of everyone's life.
Amen to that. Yeah. Coco, what about you?
Well, the reason I'm here is actually because of Maggie. I was in China, she hit me up, and I was like, well, I'm going to be very jet lagged, but 3 days post-China jet lag. But as far as sports goes, sports was all I knew. I came from a very large pedigree family of sports. My grandfather played in the NBA. My uncle also played in the NBA. My mom was a two-time Olympian. My aunt played horse polo. My other uncle was a pro beach volleyball player. My brother played volleyball. But I mean, there's so many powerful women in my family. My grandmother, especially my grandparents, lived with us and helped raise us because my mom was a single mom. And my grandmother was Miss America, and she showed me a presence and showed me what a woman is supposed to be like. And I was just always the younger sister following my brother into everything. And my brother's actually here. And he was a great support for me always. And I think that's what sports is about. It builds a community, like everyone's saying here. It's a community, it's lifelong friends, and it shows what we will do for each other. I will come jet lagged from China just because Maggie asked me to be here.
Well done, Maggie. Well done.
Well, I'm here because my brother. He did ask me to be here, and of course, didn't want to let my big bro down. And I feel like I always talk about all the successes of my family, but I'm just gonna leave that to Coco. But I think they've all said it all. There's something so important about this message, and not just training like a girl, but the desire to be just like a girl. Whenever I feel like I'm playing at my best or when I'm my happiest, it's kind of when I hit that flow state, and it feels like I'm just a girl in my backyard playing some polo with my family, and it really brings me back to the core of why I play, and it's to enjoy and to have fun and to connect. My sister is here, who's also a two-time Olympian, gold medalist, silver medalist, oldest sister, so she keeps setting the bar higher for me, and my brother, my older sister, who, that's where I imagine myself when I'm playing at my best or working in my best environment. It kind of brings me back to when we were kids and just having fun, really, and enjoying the moment. So.
You led me really nicely into my next question. Thank you for that. If you could do
You're
that all
welcome.
night long, I'd really appreciate it. But you all talked about, Emily and Coco and Maggie, how you grew up in super athletic families, and I'll do a little bragging now because I did the research, so I'll get it out there. So her dad was an NCAA champion at the right school in the Bay Area, Cal. Do I have any bears in the audience? I'm sorry. Stanford Cardinal. Thank you. We'll allow it. Everybody kind of intermingles once you get to it. So your dad was an NCAA champion, as you mentioned, Jessica, an Olympian as well. Coco, you mentioned everyone in your family. Emily, your dad was an ice hockey NCAA champ. Older sister was an Olympian as well. So I'm wondering what it was like when you were growing up, if you were treated any differently. I know that you've trained with guys, a lot of athletes who compete at an elite level, compete against boys and then men, just as a way to push themselves. So were you treated the same as the guys you were competing with and against? What was the sports upbringing that you mentioned briefly? What was it like? Let's get into the details of it.
I wouldn't say I was treated the same. I think I was almost, because I played with all my older brother's friends.
Right.
And he's a year and a half older than I am. And if I wasn't good enough, I didn't get to play. And that was bottom line. So I had to learn how to be good enough and learn how to throw the football and everything like that. But it was mainly the dynamic of my family. Just everyone was super competitive. Everyone wanted to be the best in our family. And obviously from the lineage that I come from, it's not very easy to do, but we're also very ready to kick you off your pedestal if you think you're getting too hot-headed. But it was from everything, from card games to just, playing horse in the backyard. I mean, I wrestled, like literally wrestled because my older brother wrestled. That's how much of a fiend I just wanted to be, just hanging out with my older brother. And I did everything. And it certainly wasn't easy to be amongst the boys and playing up in age groups, even amongst girls, because in tennis, which the sport I ended up playing, I always had to play up. So I was 12 years old playing against 16-year-olds. And it's not that it's difficult, it's just you're on two different wavelengths. I'm 12 years old, I'm just learning kind of the ins and outs, and they're 16 and they're all driving cars and doing what 16-year-olds do, and I just can't relate. I don't have many friends out there. So it just kept getting harder and harder, and then when I got onto the pro tour, I turned pro at 16, it was a girl amongst women, and that was very difficult. Being away from home was super difficult because it's an international sport. I mean, our season is from December 1 to about this first week of November, so that's a lot of time to be away from home, and I was not used to it. And I traveled with my mom a lot, but at 18 I started traveling by myself, and that was tough, and that's something I had to really get used to.
Was mentioning is for me as well, water polo, especially 10 years ago, wasn't very popular, and so when I started playing, I was on the 18 under co-ed team. I wasn't on the team. Let's rephrase that. I practiced with the 18 under co-ed team, and then getting older, I would go to my brother's high school practices and always trying to play with the boys and always trying to play with the older girls or older women, and that helped me get to where I was and am today, because immediately I wasn't as strong, I wasn't as intelligent, I wasn't as tough, I wasn't as fast, but I had to learn how to get there or how to mimic them or how to use my personal strengths to either reach their level or exceed it. And it's funny, I was just at the ESPNW event, which, similar to the Women's Sports Foundation event, it's just, you're surrounded by people just like this, and they tell their stories, and you're like, okay, I've done nothing, And it's just so humbling, and it's crazy, and you hear them talk about it, and one common theme is a lot of women who have progressed in whatever it is for us in sport. A lot of us have had to play up. Or work up or play against the boys, and I never thought of it that way, and it was just something that it gave me confidence, because I was like, oh, like literally last week I played against some high school boys, because that's all I have right now to play against, and I totally accidentally elbowed this, like, the best player on the team. He was okay.
Was it accidental?
It was, well, he was underwater, and
He was like, I got Maggie.
Yeah.
She's like, here's one little.
yeah, I made sure he knew his place. And he just started he felt sorry for himself and kind of swam away. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go score. Well, he feel sorry for himself. But I feel like that's kind of the story of our lives, is how can you kind of be that play up, which has been a huge advantage for me, and it gives me a lot of confidence, but it's something that I feel like a lot
heard worse things about school. High school's fun for me because I take it as a positive, and I know who I am, and that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, I know who I am, I know my moral compass, and I know what I bring to the table. Personally, when I go out there to compete, I have to get to the point where I hate my opponent. Like, even if it's my best friend on tour, it doesn't matter. I have to hate you so much, I want to beat you. And that's my mental mind frame when I go into it. And it shows in a way different way than some other girls that prepared differently in a mental aspect. So for me, I think, you know, when you see different instances and the big outroars of, for instance, what happened with Serena at the US Open, where two wrongs don't make it right. The umpire was wrong and Serena was wrong. But it became such a huge issue because of the language that was being used. And I think when Billie Jean King speaks and she spoke about the Serena issue, it's the tone, it's the language that is used around women in sports, and even women in a corporate world or in any sort of professional world, or the way you speak to a child, whether it's a girl or a boy, you speak differently. And I think the tone needs to be overall the same. And that's what I appreciated when I was growing up, because I was treated the same, if not, not worse, but just a little bit harder. And there was more expected out of me than probably the boys that were on the team with me. And it was a tone that I appreciated more because I knew that that's what was expected of me. So I knew the guideline I had to reach. And when it's a tone of negativity that hits a young girl early on, it's no fun and it's no good. It's no good to feel out there when you're going out there and competing. It puts you self-doubt in a girl's mind really early on, no matter what. And that's what I had great role models around me that, you know, talk me up. And I mean, it's a joke now, but my grandmother would tell me every day, "You're perfect, don't listen to them, you're perfect." And it was about my mom telling me I was wrong. But she would tell me, "You're perfect, we're in there eating Oreo cookies, and you're perfect, don't worry. She's wrong, you're perfect." So that was my my self-talk and what I was raised. And that's how I conduct myself in a way of the way you present yourself out there in, you know, this room right now, on the tennis court, when you're walking down the street. It's a present people are seeing, and that's what I try to do the most. Is when I see people, I give the biggest light impression because I want them to see the real me. And when I'm out there on the court, it's a different personality. Like I said, I have to get to that mind frame of combustibility or whatever the word was to end up beating somebody.
I love that. And a couple of things that Coco mentioned, kind of around language and what the outside voices are saying. And I just remember, as a fan of water polo and skating growing up, and just admiring trainers and any powerful woman in sports, that often there would be talk about appearance, right? And I, as somebody who played soccer and basketball, one of my big sports, and that was, you know, baggier clothes and stuff, so I never had to worry about this. But I just remember when anyone was competing in a bathing suit or spandex or the stuff that skaters have to wear, like, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, at least for me, we wear zipper suits. So, do you guys know what a water polo suit looks like? Okay, so those that don't, it's basically the same as a swimsuit in the front, but then in the back it's all fabric and it zips up. So it's almost like a gymnast style suit. And we are moving our legs and hips in all which directions, so sometimes we get lots of wedgies, which I've dealt with many a times. And because of that, I've actually had a lot of people ask me about that question about, you know, you're always in a suit or there's exposures or like people can see basically, you know, my whole body in a sense. And to me, I don't see it that way. To me, this is just what I wear to play a game. This is what's going to make me play the best. You know, I'm not really thinking about, oh, how do I look in this suit? Like, my thighs are touching. Oh my gosh. No, I'm like, yeah, these things are going to somehow power me through a 32-minute game against these incredible women. But it's funny when I get asked that question because to me, it doesn't even faze me. To me, I'm sure with ice skating as well, this is, you know, what's going to propel me to be where I need to be. And with water polo, we also wear really pretty water polo caps. They're beautiful.
So
I'm surprised we're not on the cover of every magazine. So for for those who don't know, we basically wear swim caps, but with like ear guards, and then we tie it around our neck, and we tie it in a bow. And there are some people in the world who have great chin lines. I wouldn't say I'm one of those. And so, same as Coco, when I hit the water, like, I want to win. I'm fierce. I'm super competitive. I'm a really aggressive player. I play with a lot of passion, and a lot of my action photos are like 5 chins, blowing water out of my mouth. My eyes are fierce. My muscles are like bulging out of my suit. And at first I was kind of shy about those photos. I was like, this is so embarrassing. I look so scary. And it was actually like my siblings who were like, no, you look sweet. You look so cool. And for me, that was something that I struggled with, and I've heard about a lot of water polo and swimmers who are kind of exposing their body type. But the great thing about the water is it kind of equalizes. And I had people on both Olympic teams who were 5'4" and double my size, or skinny, lanky, like looked like they had no muscle but were some of the strongest in the pool. And so right away you're learning to kind of be confident with not the way your body looks, but how your body allows you to play, or how your body allows you to be who you want to be. And I started on Instagram because that when it started to become really popular, and I started doing Water Polo Wednesday and would post really ugly photos of myself. Because to me, that was my way of showing I don't care, I don't care if I'm bulging out and my muscles are like whatever, and I have double chins and I'm really intense, because that's how I get to my like, Coco, I hate you stage. Like, I want to score this ball, and if that means like water's coming out of my mouth and my eyes are bulging out of my face, like that's what's gonna get it done. And then of course, it's nice to have people see that we're real people and not just animals in the water and like fierce people, for sure, but that's also a part of who we are. And I love what you said. It's like, we know who we are, but that's who we are is also who we are when we play. And that's okay to be both.
Yeah, and I mean, so much of that is true for figure skating. I grew up wearing a skating dress every day, even practicing, which now with all these athleisure clothes, no one wears skating dresses anymore except to compete. But I was one of those few that wore skating dresses every day, so it was just part of my uniform, part of my armor. It was like, this is my dress, and I am on the ice, and I am getting ready to just do this clean program. And so you're like, when you're in that moment, you're not thinking of, what does this look like? Do I have a wedgie? Like, there is no time for thinking about that. You're just thinking, I can do this, I can land this jump, and this dress is part of skating, part of the whole package.
I can totally relate. I danced really intensely and I still perform, but growing up was doing ballet, contemporary jazz, all the things, and you can see every bit of that girl's body, and I had the wrong body type because I also played soccer, so my thighs were too big and my arms were like weirdly muscular, and the boys would lift me, but I'd lift the boys. It was all of the things. And I think it was honestly for me until college that I actually felt like, oh yeah, whatever. These are my legs. What else do you want me to do? And I agree with both of you. It's truly, this is my capable body, and it is going to do the things that we've asked of it, and so what else do you want?
I love that. I love that so much. And I'm interested to hear these answers because I know they're all going to be so different. The biggest challenge or misconception or stereotype when it comes to being a woman doing what each of you individually do. I'm sorry, I should have given you some more time.
I'll start. I think figure skating is an interesting one of the few sports we have up here for a few reasons. One, the female discipline is the marquee, which is not the same in many or most other sports. And I think for figure skating, You want to make it look easy. You're always smiling, even when you're doing a face plant. Somehow there's still smiles on your face, and you don't really see everything behind what made that happen, which is hours in the gym, hours on the ice, as many or more hours, probably as many hours as the male counterparts that are also figure skating. So we're out there training together, we're out there competing together, and I think a misconception is that it looks easy, even though it's supposed to. For a figure skater, I'm jumping, rotating 3 times in the air, landing on a 1/4-inch blade, on ice. On the ice.
And I can't even spin around once, right here.
Are you gonna,
No, it's not gonna happen. Keep talking.
But it takes a lot of training to do that, and I think the misconception is that it's easy, and so I invite everyone to come skate with me, if you want to. But yeah, I think that's the misconception, is just that it's easy. It's supposed to look easy, but behind that is many years of falling, many bruises, many broken things. Yeah.
I think the biggest misconception in sports is fear. I think fear is a big thing that happens in sports. And for me, it was a lot of different things. When you turn professional at 16, you give up your right to go to college. So at 16, I had to make a big choice of being a professional, accepting money, whether or not I would make it as a professional or not, and make any money whatsoever, get injured tomorrow, my career's done, sort of thing. But also fear of just the unknown. It's different plateaus that you hit through your career. I think I have a couple different plateaus that I've hit so far, of just different moments in my life, 16 being one of them, being a professional, and then actually learning what a professional means. And that was probably at 21, 22, where I realized the sacrifices that you have to make. And one, I was willing to make those sacrifices of giving up my free time, giving up any sort of social, even with my family. When they want to pull me different directions, or my friends want to pull me different directions. No, sorry, I got to be in bed. I got training in the morning, or I have to fly tomorrow and be ready to go, or eat correctly, or any of those things that get you as prepared as possible. And then I had a big breakthrough year last year at 26, and I think it's a lot of things that go into a breakthrough. It's knowing for yourself that you've prepared physically, mentally, but also there's different things that drive outside in your personal life, and making sure that everything is in order. And actually, when I had my breakthrough year last year, my personal life was a mess. It was a mess. I just was not happy with the outside people in my life. I was upset with, and my main people in my life are my family. And I was unhappy with my mom, I was unhappy with my siblings, but I actually take that as because I was taking my craft so seriously, and I was investing so much time and so much energy that I just didn't have time for the nonsense that was going on in the outside world. And I just switched a trigger in me of anger, frustration, and it was so funny because I was having the best time career professionally, and then I had a moment of when I got home, no, I don't even want to be here. It made me want to go even more so out there professionally. And then now I'm going through a different phase of, I've been injured since July, so I'm dealing with injuries and watching people say, what's wrong with you and what's going on, and every which way of, why aren't you performing the same way, which they don't know I can't because of my injury, but I still have to keep playing because there's all sorts of rigmarole of rules, and I'm gonna get fined if I don't play these tournaments and all this stuff. Which is frustrating, but I mean, as an athlete, it's frustrating because I train my whole day, my whole life to be able to perform and peak at certain tournaments, which are the Grand Slams for us. And I can't. And this year's US Open was a huge letdown because I was playing 1 week and I was still in pain before the US Open. So that was great while I had the doubles to keep playing because singles is my main priority. I was top 10 last year, and I'd beaten numerous number ones at the time, and I was semifinal twice at 2 different Grand Slams, quarterfinals at another, and here I am, not even being able to go at 60% in singles, but I had doubles to pick me up, and it was a great, cherry on top of the cake for me of elation of like, okay, this is going to work towards next year. And that's kind of my plan right now, is to work towards next year. But the sacrifices we have to make and the fears of the unknown of, right now my fear is, am I even going to be healthy enough for next year? And maybe I can't, maybe I never will. All these self-doubt talk of moments. So I think fear is probably the biggest misconception in sports.
I think you just touched upon it at the end of what you were saying, but hand in hand with fear comes doubt, and I think that there is this misconception that whether it's in fitness or professional sports, that we don't necessarily wonder that this is going to work, or am I capable today? Am I capable tomorrow? Am I building a program that makes any sort of sense? And a lot of it is straight up just trying and failing and then accepting that failure as a touch point for something in the future. And so I think that a misconception is that we either don't feel the doubt or don't turn failures around and really just, we have to, because there has to be another match, there has to be another tournament, there has to be another class. And at some point you have to put another smile on your face and pretend like it's not hurting like hell.
I think these are all great. Something I was just thinking about when you guys were talking is the misconception that life is perfect when you get, to the top of the podium. But like everyone's mentioned, there's so much more to it. But what I was thinking of, and which might lead into a completely different topic, is, I don't know if this is a misconception or not, but the misconception that sport should be a male face. And it's hard for me to say that because I personally look up to a lot of male role models and a lot of male athletes. Like, I love watching, for example, like the NBA. I totally try to mimic their moves in the water, which doesn't really work, but I try. Or like my brother and my dad and people that I look up to, especially on like a personal level and also athletic level, a lot of things I've learned. But it's unfortunate for me to go to a lot of events like these and hear these stories and meet these incredible women, and none of them are like the face of sport. And Serena is really helping break that, but she also has a storyline to her. Like, I wonder if she didn't have a storyline, if she would have been the face, and how many championships and years has it taken for her to get there. That's changing a little bit in water polo, just with the women's success that we've had. But I wish it was quicker, and it's not really going. And one thing I struggle with is I always looked up to Mia Hamm, and I'm so glad I did, because I did have a female role model, and I totally wanted to be number 9 at the Olympic Games for soccer. That didn't happen as well. I still love number 9, and I still love Mia Hamm. I got to meet her, and as you can tell, I don't get speechless very often. Like, I've met some really cool people, and my sister we hung out with LeBron James, and we were like hanging out. And then I met Mia Hamm. I was shaking, did not talk. I was like in tears. I was like, what is wrong with me? This was last year, so not kidding. It was last year. But I just wish that there were more faces for girls to look up to, and that's why I led this campaign of Train Like a Girl, because I feel like a huge misconception is that the face of sport has to be this like big, strong male, when really when you look at some of the most, even if you were to take away if they're male or female, just athletes in general, a lot of them, when you take away what they've done, not just in their respective sport, but outside of the pool or court or ice, it's a lot of women. And if girls or even boys could see that, like, how cool would it be if like a little boy was like, oh yeah, I want to be like Coco, like that to me is the dream for water polo, is like some boy. And I love doing camps and stuff, and when all the guys want to come to like the girls, it's like, yeah, we're doing something right where, you're not just baseball cards and looking at the NBA players and NFL players and all these male sport faces, but you're getting, tennis cards with girls, and you're like pumped. You're like, oh, I got the gold card, Emily, ice skater, you know, like that would be so cool to me. And I don't know when that will happen, but I feel like that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that for some reason a lot of the face of sports and sponsorships and athletic things all have to be this big male figure, and it doesn't just have to be a woman who's gone through hell to get to where she is and 20 years of championships. Like, why not a girl who's just strong and awesome and amazing, who's killed it in 2 years, 3 years, you know? So I guess that's a goal of mine, is how can we change that? But I think that's a huge misconception that can be changed for sure.
Well, and on that note, Megan, you and I talked about this a little bit beforehand, because one of the questions that people ask me as a play-by-play broadcaster, which is mostly men, do you think the female fitness and sport landscape should stay female and male, or would you like all of it to be seen as genderless?
Yeah, we were talking about that, and it's really difficult for me because, you know, for water polo, it's very team oriented, right? And you have to have each other's back like no one's business. You know the ins and outs. You know their next move. You can feel their heartbeat. That's how you're gonna win. And a level of that is being proud women, like proud badass women who have each other's back and are gonna be connected no matter what. And I love saying that. I love saying I'm a female athlete, and I'm very proud of that. I love going to events where I meet these people, and it's like immediate, just I feel everyone's like pumped to wear heels when no one usually is. Like, oh, I can wear heels here, and I can like show off my scary muscle back. It's like, no, it's an awesome muscular back. And so that part of it I love. But then it's also like, why not just be the best? I feel like so many people will say, oh, she's the best female athlete. And it's like, why can't she just be the best athlete or the strongest or the fiercest athlete? It doesn't have to have that title. So I get torn because I love the idea of us just being kind of, you know, equal in that sense. But I also like having that pride, and I'm sure men do too. It's like, yeah, I'm the best male athlete on this, you know? So I don't know.
What about the three of you?
I just want to say I want to make some Maggie playing cards. All of us are going to have them.
Can it be with like a super scary muscle and like
Double chin.
spitty water? It's gonna be like fire
That's
dragon.
going to be awesome. I'm going to put it up on the fridge. Yeah.
What about the three of you?
I agree with Maggie. I think it's empowering to be a woman, and I'm proud to be a woman, and I'm proud that I know I can beat boys too, and having that pedestal that you have to hit. I don't feel like there needs to be a neutral aspect to that, but you know, there's always that greatest of all time just because of the sport that I am in, with Serena and Steffi Graf, Billie Jean King. I mean, these are people that are doing things that males have never done in my sport. So I think there's room for both discussions of the greatest of all time, the GOAT, and in each sport or just overall, and also just in your own individual male, female, sport, class, whatever you want to decide. But it's similar to like valedictorian. There's a male or a female valedictorian, but they're all trying to achieve the same thing.
Amber, what do you think?
I think it's pretty different for me because I teach co-ed classes. However, they tend to be mostly female, which I think has to do with the fact that I am entirely female. I remember a class, actually, I used to teach in Palo Alto at the Soul Cycle there, and one day this guy came up to me after class and said, I specifically chose your class because you look nice in your picture and you smiled, and the person who was teaching after you, side note, a white male, looks like he might be hard, but you kicked my ass and I don't understand. And this is also like after class, everyone's sweaty, we're overwhelmed, bodies are touching, and the first thing I said was, well, obviously, what do you want? You paid this money, what else would you like? And I think that I agree, it should be, you can be the best in your class and also the greatest of all time. And I appreciate the camaraderie that comes from being in spaces with women, but let's not kid ourselves. A woman can be on top as well.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what everyone has said, for me, I think it would be, the ideal is that it is genderless, and when you think who's the greatest fill in the blank athlete, your mind will go to a female or will go to a male, and it's, it would be that greatest athlete. I don't think we're there yet. I think that's why there's so much, and I think that's why the Women's Sports Foundation and all these other organizations are so powerful, is because I think we are slowly getting there, but until you can say, oh, who's the best basketball player, and you think of a female, I don't think we're there yet.
So on that note, how would you like to see each of your industries or just fitness and sport in general evolve? Easy questions now.
Well, I think for me, we're one of the first sports to have equal pay for women and men, but only in the Grand Slams. And that has to be very clear because the Grand Slams only happen 4 times a year. And the rest of the year, the men get paid way more than we do. But we have fought for equal pay, and we deserve equal pay because at the end of the day in sports, we are entertainers. And I play to entertain the people that paid money to watch me play. And for the same amount of entertainment, whether it's because the discussion was 3 out of 5 sets, which men play, which takes 3 hours or more, or 2 out of 3, which women play at Grand Slams, which takes an hour and a half to sometimes over 3 hours. The men should get paid more because they're playing longer and they're playing more. And I always use the correlation of you go to a movie and you're paying for entertainment, whether it's an hour and a half movie or a 2.5 hour movie, you're still paying $20 or more, depending if you're going to those fancy movie theaters and not hitting the matinee and being cheap like I am. And so it's empowering and what I want to see more, especially in the regular level events, because tennis does have that presence of we get paid a lot, which we get paid a lot in the Grand Slams, and that's where you want to perform. But in everyday life, we don't get paid a lot. And a lot of the girls, when you think of a top 100 female in any profession, if you're 1 through 100, the best doctor in the world, you're getting paid bank. And if you're 1 in 100 best male athlete in basketball, you're getting paid millions of dollars. If you're not ranked above 30 in the world in tennis, you are losing money. You are losing money, and that's a fact. So the fact that that doesn't happen where we can make a living at any sort of, through the year where a man can, it needs to be changed. And that's where I think will be a great starting point for my personal sport and for more interest in women to go to sports, because it is a livelihood and it is something that you can aspire to be, because your parents won't be freaking out like, oh my gosh, my son or daughter isn't going to be making any money during this and they're wasting their time. They should go try to be some sort of businesswoman or businessman or something like that. So I think that would be a great stepping stone for my sport.
I think one word to me is just exposure. I think the exposure to younger girls, especially, or boys, whatever, that there is opportunity moving forward is something that can change someone's life. Which I barely knew this was a thing you could do, but I'm currently playing professionally in water polo, and I have to go do that in Europe, but I'm able to make somewhat of a living off that. What we consider a living in the water polo world. You don't really make money, but and hearing entertainment, I'm like, I get pumped when like 20 people come, so I hope we entertain them. But that's the thing, like exposure. I really think, especially for water polo, if more people were exposed to the sport, they would fall in love with it as much as I have. And as a kid, to see that there's an opportunity in that sport, right? So as a kid, you see on TV all of these sports, and whoever it is, male or female, you see them making money, or you see them on TV, and that's what you want to be. You're like, oh, I want to be Michael Jordan. I want to be Michael Jordan. That was that was the most elite athlete at the time he could be, but he also had a movie, and he was on TV every day, and he was on all the cereal boxes. And so to me, it's just exposing more female athletes and also more opportunity of what a female athlete can be. I feel like a lot of female athletes think it's after, if you don't make it big, like I was saying, if you're not top 30, you're losing money, right? Or after college, okay, I gotta quit my sport because that's what you do. And so I think if we can change the exposure of, you know, obviously men and women, but also just the opportunities that sport can bring and where it can take you, it really will, I think, drive more kids to keep playing and to start, and more girls to believe, oh, I can do that. I can make a living off that, or I can learn the values that sport has given me and really make a name of myself wherever it may be. Maybe it's not on a movie or TV show, but it's for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and you're proud of that.
I think something I'd like to see in fitness in general is more inclusivity. I think if you look at the most renowned fitness instructors, what have you, they fit a pretty standard profile of typically a white male or female, TBD, able-bodied, relatively well-to-do, and that's just not most people. And I think you see that in a smaller sense, that people from minority communities or from different body shapes and backgrounds will start their own thing on Instagram, what have you. Like, that's actually been a really great platform for getting more inclusivity in fitness, but pay us.
So what are some other ways, Amber?
Say that one more time?
What are some other ways that you think that we could achieve that inclusivity, being in the industry?
Well, I think just in the same way that we've discussed the female athlete as a moniker, like, we don't need the female, we don't need the black, it's just an incredible instructor, it's an incredible athlete, it's an incredible person, what have you. I think that's a really important part. It's just the way we talk about people. And that seeps into our culture, and it seeps into what we do and how we buy things.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge because with figure skating, it's typically, I think, more of a female sport. Like I said, the women's event is more watched than the men's event. And so you have an interesting, like, you know, when you're younger, it's a lot more women involved. And when you get older, definitely a lot more women involved. So it's, you know, thinking about what would the future be, I think, you know, as a figure skater, we're athletes. Whether you're male or you're female, you're an athlete. And I think changing that mindset is also kind of related to, let's change that mindset of, you know, get rid of the descriptor. We're athletes.
I think something that all of us can do a better job of is celebrating each other. And I think I can say this because I'm on a female team, but I don't think we as girls or women necessarily do the best job of that. And I think we can do a better job celebrating each other, and that will help with the inclusivity of, okay, hey, check out this woman, she's amazing, look what all the things she's done, rather than being jealous or whatever it may be. It's the way that you're gonna be able to lift everyone up, not just yourself, is by lifting the people up around you. And that's something I think we can all do a better job of, no matter if it's in sport or, you know, your office or wherever it may be. Lifting each other up, whether they're different from you or not. But I mean, I've met some incredible people that I personally didn't even know of. And now I follow them, and I try to celebrate them, and I watch them. And if I hadn't have just been open to that, and they hadn't been celebrated by someone I knew, I would have never known they existed. So I think in order to be more inclusive, we have to be willing to celebrate the variety of people around us, so that we can share their successes or their beauty or whatever it may be with each other.
I love that. I love the tennis players and water polo players talking to each other and getting each other to a
She's mad at me because she got me tickets to her match, but I couldn't go. But she won.
Amber knows you there.
That I wasn't there.
Yeah, she's officially bad luck.
Yeah, so it worked out.
Never invited again.
Okay, I didn't discuss this beforehand, but I saw a couple people wanted to ask questions, so I'm going to open it up to questions just for a couple minutes in a minute. But maybe one of your favorite training like a girl moments that you'd love to share with us. Because one of the things that I encounter as a woman is just like, we don't talk about our accomplishments the same way that guys do. We always have to do it in a kind of talking it down way. Whereas guys are just like, I'm a 2-time gold medalist. I'm a U.S. Open champ. I'm an Olympian. And everyone's like, yeah. And Maggie's like, I want 2 gold medals. Hey, I'm Maggie. So, if there's a moment that really, training like a girl, you're just really proud of, I would love for you to share that with all of us today.
Well, I'll do the story. You want me to do the story?
I mean, you can be on like everything. I mean, you can do another
You can make us all look bad in the first go.
Well, I don't know if I would pick this one, but it is a really good story. Well, so basically this, we were talking about this, so that's why I'm going to share it. This past year, before we were training for Rio, we had the opportunity to train with Cam Newton. I'm sure everyone knows who Cam Newton is.
Quarterback.
Very sure.
Carolina Panthers.
So he was doing a show for Nickelodeon, and basically little kids would write to him, or write to Nickelodeon about role models or people they wanted to be like, and he was going to take them through a day in the life. And some girl wrote they wanted to be on the USA Women's Water Polo team, which this is the best day ever. I didn't care that Cam Newton was coming. I was like, this little girl wants to be on this team. This is amazing. So this little girl, Piper, so cute, came to Los Al, which is where we train, and one of the first things Cam Newton said was like, this is where you train. Because if anyone's been to our training center, it's like moldy bathrooms, gross, the pool is gross, we share it with kids, so while we're training for the Olympics, there's like kids screaming and going to the bathroom in the pool, all that stuff. So he comes and we basically take him through, and him and Piper through a day in the life. And Cam Newton obviously is this very athletic, well-known figure. And he jumps in the pool and we're all kind of giggling around, and he can barely swim up and down the pool. At one point he started crying, and I was concerned because I thought I had pushed him too hard. So I was like, oh, egg beater, like, you gotta try it. Turns out he had stubbed his toe on the bottom of the pool. And they said not to show that part. So anyway, so we're playing him down. He's an awesome person, awesome, really fun, lighthearted, super nice, really respected us after this practice, right? And so at the end, he kind of did like a photo shoot for Nickelodeon. And I'm sure some of you have seen this, but on Instagram and everywhere on social media, there's this photo of Cam Newton out to past his belly button, like ripping the ball like this, looking like a water polo player, and was amazing, right? And that's all you could see. And ESPN, Sports Center, NFL, like everything you can think of, retweeted and grammed, whatever. And he was like, Cam Newton's the best of all time. Look, he can even do water polo. It was everywhere. Like, it was on TV, and I was looking at it, and he posted, and he's like, look what I can do, like, water polo with, like, not real words. It's all, like, symbols, and, yeah, like, I don't even know what it says, but there's something on there that's like, look what I can do. So I had signed this contract where we're not allowed to say that he was working with us, so I couldn't say anything. This is like a month before the Olympics, and I'm pumped because this is great. It's water polo out there. Not many people know the sports. I'm like, thank you, Cam. People are seeing water polo. This for me is great. But little did everyone in the entire world know that I was underneath Cam Newton, egg beating, not touching the bottom of the pool. His legs were on my shoulders, and I was lifting him up out of the water. And that's where they got my gold medal.
I mean, for me, playing for my country is the number one thing. It was what I was raised of. Any sport I wanted to play, I just wanted to be an Olympian. And because my mom was an Olympian, and I was playing all sorts of different sports. Tennis was the last sport I ever played. I didn't even like it all that much. I actually really liked basketball a lot. But I got into tennis, and it was actually we have an event called the Fed Cup, and it was put in place because tennis got taken out of the Olympics. So I'm representing my country, and you have to win 4 rounds through the whole year, the calendar year, to make it to the finals. And so we're in Belarus playing them at an away tie, so we're in Minsk. And it's the end of the year, you're exhausted because you've been playing since January 1. It's now November 14th. And I'm in the tunnel, and it's one of the few events that we do as a team, and because tennis is so individual. And I'm with Sloane Stephens, who had just won the U.S. Open. I'm with one of my best friends, Shelby Rogers, Allison Risk, another one of my really good friends, and we're standing in line waiting to get called out, and they're playing, the national anthem of Belarus, and the crowd is blowing those really annoying horns that they have, and I literally said to these guys, and I'm like, guys, how amazing is this? Like, how pumped are you? And I was about to go play, and I was like jumping up. I was getting so jazzed, because literally they go out and they play your anthems, and then you go, coin toss, let's go play. So I'm having all that adrenaline going, and I end up winning my first round. Sloane unfortunately lost her match. So now we have to go to day 2. And everyone's a little bit somber because Sloane played second, and they have kind of that loss mentality. And I'm not any sort of leader. I really don't like it. I really am more, as funny as it is, as like personal as I am right now, I'm really quiet and introverted like when I get in a team atmosphere. I like to be number 2. I show how I am by my play. And I'm in the car, and it's so somber, and I'm getting pissed off. I'm like, what is going on? It's 1-1, like we have the final day tomorrow. If we lose tomorrow, I came all the way to Minsk. I'm not here to be in Minsk at all. Like, I would rather be in San Diego right now. And I'm basically talking to myself, but talking aloud to everybody in this band, in the team band. And I'm like, you girls better be out there. And I was obviously not talking all that nicely, but I was just ripping everybody and like pumping everybody up. And I was like, we got tomorrow. I'm sorry Sloane lost today, but you know what? We're here tomorrow. We're here for each other tomorrow, because none of these girls are really used to being in a team. And I've been used to being on a team because I did team sports everywhere before tennis. And I'm like, we've got to kick this attitude out of this band. Like, this is it. Like, and I started just blasting my own music. I took my headphones out of it. I just started blasting my own music, and then like one of the coaches was like, Coco, that was amazing. And then we came back and we ended up winning the Fed Cup, and it was the first time USA had won in 13 years. And we came down to the deciding doubles, which I was thankfully a part of. And I had a special moment with Shelby on the court, one of my best friends on tour and off tour. And it was amazing, and a great celebration, and a drug testing the next morning.
That was an amazing story. So for me, fierce is also pretty individual. So my sister's 4 years older, and she also competed. And so 2002, I was at my first skating nationals as a junior, the level below senior, which is the highest level. She was a senior. And we both compete in the same week, and I'm all excited to be there, and not very good, so I get last place. And she is very good, and the next month was the Olympics. And so I, obviously was so excited for her, but for me, I was like, I saw what you did. I saw your training every day, living in the same house, seeing you go to the rink, seeing this dedication. And in my mind, I was like, that's what I want. I want to be an Olympian. So the next year, get back to nationals, junior level again, and I get second to last place. And I think my parents were thinking, all right, maybe she'll quit. She's not doing so well. And for me, I ran out of the arena, and I was like, I didn't get last place. I'm not in last. And they were, I think their mentality was, oh, I guess she's going to keep doing this. And fast forward 3 years, I was on the Olympic team. So for me, training like a girl was in that moment that clicked of, I want to do this. I don't care that I'm a girl. This is going to happen.
Yes.
My story is a little bit different. So I also went to Stanford, and when I was there was a dolly, which is really a group of 5 girls who dance with the band at all of the sporting events, at all of the
Everyone wants to
rallies. It is really awesome. Like, there are little girls who come wearing dresses and say, my dad played football and I want to be a dolly, and they'll come dance with us, and it's great. But what behind the smile are 45 minutes of just dancing straight through and high kicks, and you're cold and you just have to make it work. To get into football season, we train just like any other athlete would, and so they let us use the small football fields to run around it every day, and they allowed us into the athlete gym, which was separate from the normal gym, and we would show up whenever the football team went to practice. Whenever they had strength training days, we would literally just follow them behind them, doing all of the same things, up until the point where the coach was like, do you just want to come on in, ladies? And so at some point we just started doing the workouts with the football team. Different weights on occasion, but that's what felt good to us to, like, yeah, we're out here doing these squats and then also kicking our faces because that's what we do.
A lot of the storylines and narratives that are created around women are about the fact that they are women, femininity, and especially about once they reach motherhood, their return back. And so a lot of people say, well, why we don't necessarily do the same things for male athletes, but on the flip side, a lot of athletes are more marketable because you see all the elements around outside of their athletic achievements. So how do you guys feel about that? Or where's the balance? How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the storyline a lot of times is what makes an athlete marketable, and I think celebrating people's successes, right, is super important. But I do also love, like, didn't even know she was a Stanford Dolly, but that's a huge storyline, right? Even just hearing that could be a whole, like, interview in itself. And for me, like, I think about, I got to play with my sister who just left at the 2012 Olympic Games, and the fact that we were sisters, like, NBC did some stuff with us at the beginning, but then it just kind of died. And to me, I was like, this is crazy. Like, her and I just won a gold medal together. I watched her in the 08 Games, then I got to play with her in the 2012 Games, and then she watched me in the 16 Games. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, but that being able to celebrate those storylines, I think, is so important, and it also can help people relate. And I just think that the storyline doesn't have to be, like, a lot of times it's like, oh, what were they wearing, or what did they look like, or how were they acting? It could be about a lot of other things that they have accomplished in their life, not just their athletic career.
No, I agree. I think a lot of, I mean, in tennis we have, it's always an individual story, and it's an individual storyline, and sometimes the tournament is part of it. But I think what's happening a lot recently with all athletes across the board is everyone wants to tear down a hero, and that's what athletes are. Because I grew up looking at athletes as heroes and role models, and to get that clickbait article of tearing down a hero because they made one mistake, and we are human, we make mistakes. Not every day we go out there and I'm loving what I'm doing. Everyone has a bad day at work and doesn't want to be there. And I think it should be, like Maggie was saying, we should be celebrated as athletes and for the hard work that we do and the accomplishments that we have on and off the court, pool, field, wherever it is. And I think that we should build heroes again as sports figures and make them into more role models.
Yeah, now it's too much pressure, so somebody else wants to. So obviously, like, as professional athletes, for the majority of you guys, we're looking for, like, equality at the highest level. But do you guys feel at any point that it's got to start kind of at the base in order for it to kind of level up to the top? Because you look at, like, LeBron James, for instance, from, like, 8th grade on, everybody knew who the kid was, right? And you look at all these other professional athletes that are followed from, male athletes, excuse me, that are followed from, like, 8th grade all the way up to the top. Do you guys think that something needs to change at the base before it can kind of bubble up to the very top?
I think grassroots is a a great start. We have a lot of grassroots programs in tennis where it starts from, smaller parks, and a lot of tennis starts in parks. I started playing in a park. I didn't play at a country club or any of that because, one, my parents couldn't afford for me to be at a country club day in and day out, so I was playing in a park and did kids clinics and that sort of thing. But I think it's a grassroots program, and getting athletes like us into those grassroots programs, because it's kind of very much two separate entities where, my organization being the USTA, which is the United States Tennis Association, puts a lot of money into grassroots, but I had to ask to be a part of one, which was we redid some courts at a park in Los Angeles, and we were promoting it, and Chase was a part of it, and I asked him, like, hey, I'm in town, can I be a part of this? Because there's at least 40 kids here that I kind of think they know who I am, and just to kind of pat myself on the back, and it'd be great for me, and I can bring my younger sibling with me because carpooling, in Los Angeles, gotta get that, and also because it's great to give back in that way, and I think that would be a great promotion into getting more kids into paying attention and more media outlets getting to pay attention to these younger kids, these phenoms, and it will get